Today I have the pleasure of talking to Dave Howson, who is the global president of Cboe. Dave, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure to be here.
You know, this is such an exciting event. We'll dive under all the stories that we're seeing around this event as well. But for the folks that might not be familiar, give us a quick brief overview of what Cboe does.
So Cboe Global Markets is a global exchange company. We run 27 markets around the world, covering a variety of asset classes. That includes equities, options, futures, digital futures, and FX. But actually we started 51 years ago as the originator of options. The ability for people to be able to define their own outcomes, to manage risk and manage volatility in their portfolios started 51 years ago on the floor of the Cboe in Chicago.
You know, I wonder who created the concept of options and if they ever thought it would get this much attention that it does in today's world, because we're at the Robinhood Summit, right, in 2024. You now have a partnership with them with introducing your products on their platform. Tell me the importance of not just this partnership with Robinhood, but also all the other retail brokerages that you have partnerships with. Why is it so important to have that?
It's tremendously important to partner with all of our customers because an exchange is about building liquidity ecosystems. We've got the partnerships with our liquidity providers, the sell-side banks, and the retail brokerage platforms. When you look at the last 5 years, the growth and the utilization of retail participants of options has been absolutely tremendous. And so from our part, it's about helping with the education, helping with the learning of what the products can actually do for a customer to help manage volatility, to manage risk in their portfolio. So the utility of options, tremendously important that we then partner with retail brokerage platforms to really help the burgeoning usage of options throughout time.
You know, Cboe is always innovating, and one of the new products of innovations is options on VIX futures. So for the folks watching at home, VIX futures has been around for quite some time, but you guys on the 14th of October introduced options on VIX futures. Tell me how traders are able to kind of utilize this. What does it mean to kind of have that?
Yeah, it's at Cboe we've got what we call a volatility toolkit. And why do we talk about the toolkit? Well, it's because we aim to provide utility to our customers throughout market cycles, because there's going to be market cycles, and throughout volatility regimes. So the ability to manage risk, to deploy different trading strategies, hedging strategies, income generation, systematic trading strategies, tremendously important. And so now to VIX options on futures. We've got the SPX options already. We've got our VIX options, which are the SEC regulated cash settled version, and those VIX futures you mentioned. And so being able to access a futures venue, you need a different setup to accessing a securities venue. So VIX options on futures are on that futures venue. So that opens up a whole band of new potential participants, in particular globally. So those global participants now getting access to the ability to manage volatility exposure. And in particular for these contracts, we're going to list them the first 5 days out, as well as the traditional expirations, which affords a much finer grained volatility management strategies to be deployed than you can do in the cash settled version. So it's about more users, more use cases coming to that volatility toolkit.
You know, you mentioned the users, and I'm sure you've dove into many Excel sheets in your years at Cboe and everywhere else. How is it like being at an event where you're seeing real humans that are using your products, walking around, engaging in them, learning their stories as well? What's it been like for you to kind of experience that outside of an Excel sheet?
Oh, it's been inspiring, it's been humbling, it's been tremendous to think now, you know, I'm motivated for the next 10 years. It's incredible to look at the data. The data tells us that firms like Robinhood democratized access to the financial markets for a broad base of customers. Those retail brokerage houses have been doing it for many years. But if you look at the data, 4 years, 5 years since the pandemic, time on their hands, sophisticated tools in their hands, some money from a stimulus check, we saw that growth. But we also saw an evolution of the sophistication from buying those meme stocks to upside call buying to then in 2022, as the market ground down, a movement to index and ETF options, and in particular those cash settled index options, tremendously important characteristic. And so that's the data, that's the story, but you come here and it comes to life. You speak to people who say, I picked it up, I learned, I went through some education, and now they're evangelists themselves. They're here. I see little groups of people talking about, this is how you do it. This is how you sell premium. This is how you do a covered call strategy. This is how you do a vertical spread. These strategies coming to life, and people just really sharing that knowledge. It just really gives you great excitement for what the future holds.
And I love that you said it kind of rejuvenates you, right? So at Benzinga, we have a live trading show. And whenever we watch the stream, we always just see a number of, hey, 400 people are watching. But here I just met someone who watches the show, and it was like, wow, these are real people behind the numbers. It gets you excited to like do more because you're doing it for them. You're doing it for the traders to bring resources and tools, in y'all's case, to make sure they can take advantage of whatever their risk strategies are. So I think that's incredible.
And that journey is amazing because adding a cash settled index option allows you that broader based exposure to the market, whether it be sectors or the US capital market, the fastest growing, the most consistently growing market in the world. S&P 500 index options through the SPX or XSP capability. That's really the demand-driven piece that we get to really lean into.
And I always sneak this in all the Cboe interviews I do. Tax advantages, I think, are huge as well. So folks that are watching, do your own due diligence to see how they can take advantage of it. I think that's one big key of trading Cboe products as well. Let's kind of continue to walk down memory lane. I've seen all the movies whenever I need to get excited about the markets as well, where there's madness on the trading pit, you know? There's chaos there. I don't even know how you're fulfilling orders, by the way, no idea. But now we live in this virtual world where everyone's just able to execute with a touch of a finger. How has that kind of changed back in the day to today? Is it still madness in the Chicago pit? Like, what's that like?
It's a tremendously vibrant pit. We've got 330 kiosks and 10 trading pits. And the activity there is tremendously important to that ecosystem we talked about before. Those SPX options, about 20% of the volume trades on the floor itself.
Wow, no way.
Those VIX options, 40 to 50% trades on the floor itself.
That's a lot higher than I expected, especially given the virtual world we live in.
And it's interesting, we've evolved with the times, just like the retail brokerage platforms. We've evolved, and now it's a hybrid interaction. So it's electronic and on the floor. And those floor trades are very large, very complicated trades that benefit from that human interaction, that human chaperoning, and the liquidity curation. The price discovery that takes place on that floor is tremendously important to our customers. And the pandemic forced an experiment. It forced us to close the floor, which we did. But then the demand, the actual activity, even though we were able, thanks to the SEC's exemptive relief, we're allowed to electronify some of those activities. But actually, we weren't getting the flow and the liquidity curation that we were when the floor was open. So we reopened it in a brand new trading floor just across the road from the original one.
Yeah, and it's incredible. We talked about Cboe's innovation, but also adapting in the COVID world. Okay, here's what we can do. Here's how we can adjust. And you saw inflows of options increasing as well. And we've seen 51 years ago, Cboe created options. We then saw monthly options expiration. Then we saw a little bit of weekly. Then we were introduced to Monday, Tuesday, Friday. Then we were introduced to daily expirations, right? So 0 DTEs as well. So much innovation happening. What excites you the most, as we look ahead into the future of what trading could be like as you garner these partnerships, garner these relationships, to introduce these new products? What excites you the most about the future?
The first thing that excites me is actually the runway. The more users, more use cases that are coming to the market, to our volatility toolkit, is tremendous. And it's really about building functionality, capability, and education resources to help that development, that runway of the products that we already have. And then, as we just talked about, building around that core is really important to us, because that liquidity power of that volatility complex is tremendous. So we added VIX options on futures, a more sophisticated variance future product as well in September. So adding products around that core to really diversify and enhance that core liquidity pool, tremendously exciting. And then the progress of retail and the international demand for access to those US capital markets, all of that coming together, tremendously powerful, and really excited about what data and insights that we're able to produce for our customers can do to really help with that journey.
Well, look, I appreciate your time here today. So much great, exciting announcements. Congratulations on all the hard work paying off, and I look forward to more future products that we can talk about.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much. That is Dave Howson, who is the global president at Cboe.